Dear participants, today we shall discuss the part 2 of the unit on rural centered entrepreneurship. We shall be concentrating on rural marketing today. Just to apprise you again, the first part consisted of ecosystem for rural entrepreneurship. Today we shall be discussing rural marketing. It shall be followed by 2 more units, one on managing rural startups and the last on agri based businesses. Now, what exactly is rural marketing? What are the basic scenarios in Indian context which makes rural marketing so typical and so important? The Indian market in the rural areas is undergoing a silent but definite revolution in terms of vastly enhanced purchasing power, consumption priorities and overall volume of consumption of goods and services. So, all these things are increasing. The sheer size of the market given India's population, as large sections of rural population they get converted into consumers, it is enough to demand focused attention for both marketing practitioners and academics to convert the emergent opportunity into realizable market shares and growth targets. So, given the volume of population, given the large segment of that population which has increased its consumption power, its buying power, we need to concentrate on rural areas as a company. Market of India started showing its potential in the 1960s. In 1960s, we had a very bad scenario in terms of agri output, but with the green revolution coming in, the rural people were empowered at least in some parts of the country. 70s and 80s witnessed its steady development. In the 21st century, it is going to see its full blooming. The formal definition of rural marketing can be that it is a function which manages all those activities in assessing, stimulating and converting the purchasing power of rural people into an effective demand for specific products and services and moving them to the people in rural area to create satisfaction and a standard of living for them and thereby achieving the goals of the organization. So, the company is marketing in the rural area with the basic aim that they are meeting certain demands, certain requirements, needs of the people in the rural area, and while doing that they are also achieving the goals of the organization in terms of revenue generation. The rural marketing is also a term which is used as an umbrella term for the people who deal with rural people commercially in one way or the other. Another way you can put it is, it is the promotion of a company's products and services in rural markets by using strategies tailor made for this market. So, strategies are available with us, but those strategies need to be tailor made for the rural market to make them effective. Now, how does the evolution of rural economy happen over the last 100 or 75 years since independence? Before 1960, rural marketing referred to selling of rural products in rural and urban areas and agricultural inputs in rural markets. So, that was the extent of the rural market. It was treated as synonymous to agricultural marketing basically. From 60 to 90, due to the green revolution in certain parts of the country and the consequent prosperity, demand for agricultural inputs like better irrigation facilities, high yield variety seeds, soil testing, fertilizers, pesticides and machinery like power tillers, harvesters, threshers, etc. increased. So, this increase in demand had to be met. Then government also took a number of initiatives, the formation of agencies like Khadi and Village Industries Commission, IFCO, Girijan Cooperative Societies, APCO Fabrics, Cribco, etc. helped village industries flourish, and products like handloom textiles, handicrafts, soaps, safety matches, crackers, etc. hit the urban market on a large scale from rural areas. Parallel to that, cooperative movement has also helped evolve the rural economy. Cooperatives like Amul, Milk Fed in Punjab, they have revolutionized the milk and milk products industry. So, while this evolution of rural economy was taking place, we can divide this into basically 2 parts. One is pre-liberalization, second is post-liberalization. During the pre-liberalization phase, marketing of household consumables and durables to the rural market was paid less attention due to the widely scattered and poorly connected nature of the market, making reach difficult and expensive as well as less purchasing power in large tracts. So, except for a few parts of the country, most of the rural areas were not easy to access in terms of communication, in terms of road network, in terms of connectivity, and due to the poor purchasing power of people in those areas, it made less sense to target them in terms of consumable durables and household items which were of a premium quality. However, post 1991 the economy opened up and the rural areas also witnessed an all round socio-economic progress. The economic reforms further accelerated the process by introducing competition in the rural markets. So, people even in the rural areas, they had a choice now for the first time which product to buy, which to reject. They could analyze and assess and then adopt a product. Gradually, the rural market had grown from household consumables and durables also. For companies, rural marketing became a distinct activity of attracting and serving rural markets to fulfill the needs and wants of persons, households and occupations of rural people. So, now more and more attention was being paid due to the increase in infrastructure, increase in overall socio-economic progress in rural areas. A large segment of the population due to liberalization was pulled out of poverty and they became more self-dependent, they became more prosperous as a result. Now, the nature of the rural market is that it is a very large, diverse and scattered market. India is a huge country and in that huge country thousands and thousands of villages are there. Those villages are scattered all over, certain areas are not accessible in a very easy way in terms of road and rail network. Certain areas have people who are still in abject poverty, certain other areas are there which are almost as rich as cities. So, the diversity of the market, the largeness of the market and its scattered nature, that is the first thing which a marketer has to take into account. Then major income of rural consumers is from agriculture. That is something which leads to uncertainty, which is inbuilt into this segment. Poor monsoons, sudden rain which is not required at a certain part of the season, certain other weather vagaries, they can create havoc in the produce of agriculture for rural consumers and that can impact their income. So, this is a very uncertain kind of a scenario. Then traditional outlook of the market, people are relatively more traditional, more grounded as compared to city folk. Standard of living and rising disposable income of rural consumers is another aspect which we are seeing now. Standard of living is definitely increasing, disposable income is also rising. People besides earning from agriculture and agricultural based other vocations, they are also having some of the other member of the family doing jobs also. So, overall standard of living is definitely increasing and that is impacting the rural market. Then rising literacy levels, people are getting more and more literate and as the literacy level is increasing, the understanding level of the people are also increasing and they have a much better choice in terms of looking at what product is being sold to them and whether it is right or wrong for them. Then there is a diverse socio-economic background. Certain areas like we have already discussed are very rich, certain other areas are very poor. So, that diversity is inbuilt into this market. Infrastructure facilities, even though they are improving, are still requiring some more work to be done. Warehouses are scattered and less. For that matter, even air conditioned warehouses are almost non-existent. Communication systems are improving, but still a large tract of the country is either connected through mud roads, kacha roads, or the roads are of poor quality. In floods, some certain areas of the country get cut off during monsoon and flooding, consequent flooding due to the monsoon. Financial facilities in terms of banking, credit, that also needs much more improvement. roads, distribution channels need improvement. So, what is the scope of marketing in rural areas? The first important aspect is that there is a very large population, and according to 2011 census, it is 72% of the total population in India, and it is scattered over a wide range of geographic area. Second is rising rural prosperity, like we have discussed. Average income level has improved due to modern farming practices, contract farming, industrialization, migration to urban areas, etc. Then growth in consumption. There is a growth in purchasing power of rural consumers. As the purchasing power is growing, consumption is growing. So, average per capita household expenditure is increasing. Change in lifestyles also is impacting the scope of this market. Lifestyle of rural consumer has changed considerably. It is now much more integrated due to communication means with the urban areas. So, that shadow of urban area lifestyle is having a much bigger footprint nowadays. Then market growth rate is higher than urban markets, which is very important. So, that is something which motivates the companies to concentrate on this area. The growth rate of FMCG market and durable market is high in rural areas. The rural market share is more than 50% for products like cooking oil, hair oil, etc. Life cycle advantage. The products which have attained maturity in the urban market are still in the growth stage in rural market. So, due to this diversity, certain areas in India, especially in rural parts, would be still looking at a product with a maturity stage which has been crossed in the urban areas. For example, even if you consider internet consumption, and there are areas which are still connected by 2G, certain areas by 3G, whereas in cities we are looking at 4G, and in a couple of years we may even adopt 5G. So, what factors are contributing to the rural market boom? The first is increase in population and hence increase in demand. Rural population in 71 was around 44 crores and today it is 89 crores in 2019. Marked increase in rural income due to agrarian prosperity. It is now 40,772 in 2011-12 census for per capita income. Large inflow of investment for rural development programs from government and other sources. Government is concentrating on these areas for infrastructure development, for social uplift, for improving the lifestyle of people. Parallelly, there are so many NGOs, Indian and foreign, which are also adopting villages, launching certain programs which would help the people come out of poverty, help them come out of different social problems which they are facing in terms of development, literacy, and the basic aim being that sustainable development goals should be met. Then increased contact of the rural people with their urban counterparts. This is happening now, and that is due to the development of transport and a wide communication network. Increase in literacy and educational level among rural folks. More and more people are now going in for primary or secondary education, and some are even going for university education. So, inflow of foreign remittances in certain parts of the companies also leading to rural market boom. A lot of people have immigrated from the rural areas to foreign countries and they are sending money back to their families. So, that is increasing the rural market boom. Change in land tenure system is causing a structural change in the ownership pattern and consequent changes in the buying behavior. Then green revolution. This started in 60s, was booming in 70s, and that has contributed a lot to the boom in the rural market. Adoption of new agronomic practices, electrification, irrigation facilities, dams have been built, canals are being dug, tube wells are given through electrification, selective mechanization, multiple cropping, inclusion of cash crops and development of allied activities like dairy, fishery and other commercial activities have helped in the increasing the disposable income of rural consumers. So, all these things are impacting the lifestyle of people in rural areas. Then emerging role of biotechnology in Indian agriculture sector is something which we cannot ignore. Even though we haven't been able to adopt that to the extent it is there in Western countries, but still the role is no doubt increasing, and its application in agricultural sector is leading to improvement in terms of generating quality seeds and cropping. And given quality seeds and cropping, better harvest, naturally it will contribute to the income being generated for the rural market. Then rural communication, there has been a definite increase in all weather roads, TV, radio, internet, telephone, electricity. They have all increased in their footprint. They have given wider exposure and new avenues to both consumers and marketeers. Development programs by the government in terms of 5-year plans have witnessed huge investments in rural areas for social and infrastructural programs implemented by the central and state governments, generating incomes to rural population and helping them to improve their lifestyles. We have discussed so many aspects about rural markets, their scope, their possibilities, and we cannot really ignore the problems in rural marketing. Transportation is a problem which is still prevalent. Despite improvement in transportation facilities, large areas are still not connected, especially during monsoon. Communication constraints like literacy rate, traditions, cultural barriers, economic and social disparity, large number of dialects and languages, as well as infrastructural weaknesses in certain parts are a challenge in communicating the product message. So, a single product message won't help. You need to tailor your product messages according to all these variations in the market. Language, culture, literacy rate, all these things have to be calibrated while designing a specialized message for so many different layers in this market. Then availability of appropriate media. All media taken together may not be sufficient to cover more than half of the rural market. So, still there is a lot of scope in terms of coverage of rural population via reliable media source. Warehousing, it is almost impossible to distribute effectively in interior outlets in the absence of adequate and scientific storage facilities in rural areas. So, due to this constraint, stocks have to be maintained in towns only, and that adds to cost. Then village structure in India is such that the scattered nature of villages increases the distribution costs. And there are so many small size villages, small populations, and that affects the economic viability of establishing distribution points for maybe a village of 500 or 1000. For such small villages, you need to think in terms of clustering these villages, that increases cost. Then rural markets and sales management. Sales management is not same in the rural areas as compared to the urban areas. Rural marketing involves a greater amount of personal selling efforts compared to urban marketing. A marketeer, a salesman has to give personal attention, clarify the doubts of the consumer in a much more involved way as compared to urban markets. The distribution channels in villages are lengthy, involving more intermediaries and consequently higher consumer prices. Due to the longer distribution channels, longer distribution chains, the cost consequently increases. In many cases, even the dealers are not available with the required qualities. Then inadequate banking and credit facilities are another constraint. The rural outlets require banking support to enable remittances, to get replenishment of stocks, to facilitate credit transactions in general, and to obtain credit support from the bank. Retailers are unable to carry optimum stocks in the absence of adequate credit facilities. They are also not able to offer credit to consumers because of this problem. So, this thing is impacting the rural market. Branding is another issue. Though national brands are getting popular, local brands are also playing a significant role in rural areas. Why are these local brands still so important? Because they may be easy to reach, they are being manufactured in the vicinity. Due to the low purchasing power in some segments and the lower cost of these brands, they may be more attractive to the consumer, or certain other consumers may not be as aware of the quality aspects of a product. So, all these things are impacting the branding part. Packaging, as far as packaging is concerned, as a general rule, smaller packages are more popular in rural areas. That is why we see sachets of shampoo also costing 1 or 2 rupees. So, small packages which a person can buy and dispose of, that is very popular in rural areas. So, all essential products may not be available in the villages in smaller packaging. Some of the products are no doubt available, like shampoo being one of the examples I gave, but certain other products may not be available in the kind of smaller packaging which a rural consumer would prefer. So, the lower income group consumers may not be able to purchase large and medium sized packaged goods, they would require smaller packages. So, it is also found that labeling on the package is not in the local language, that also impacts and creates a problem for the consumers as well as for the salespeople. So, we have discussed a lot of aspects about rural marketing. Number of companies are adopting these markets, they are customizing products to create a space for themselves in this market. One such case study of rural entrepreneurship is by life insurance company Bharti AXA Life Insurance. They have launched a crop insurance campaign. We were discussing the vagaries of weather in impacting rural income. So, this crop insurance would be a very important product for a rural consumer. The campaign was called Bahut Zaruri Hai, and it was for farmers in Maharashtra and Karnataka to encourage them about their crop protection and financial security. The company has secured the mandate to insure the farmers in Maharashtra and Karnataka for a period of 3 years under the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. And this Yojana provides them protection for the losses occurring due to the uncertainty and unfavorable weather vagaries, resulting in yield deprivation on the field. So, they are basically ensuring that the farmers are not impacted by weather vagaries. The campaign Bahut Zaruri Hai is aimed at making the farming communities aware about the relevance and significance of crop insurance, which mitigates the rural distress caused by crop failure or damage due to factors like unseasonal rains, monsoon failure, storms, floods, pests and diseases. So, with this case, we finished today's unit 2 or the chapter 2 of unit 5 on rural entrepreneurship, and thank you for a very patient hearing.